Hi guys, I'm Madeline Harvey and thank you so much for hanging out with me today. In our lesson today, we're going to go over 5 ways that you can explore your most authentic voice. So if you like today's lesson, please be sure to give it a thumbs up or click that subscribe button below. I would love to see you here more often. The video that you're about to see was taken as a clip from a live voice lesson that was shot earlier today. If you want to watch the entire live lesson, which is about an hour in length, I invite you to click that join button below and become a member of this channel. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to all of our live lessons that we shoot every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So again, click that join button. It's only $4.99 a month, and your contribution helps to support our channel. That way we can continue to deliver awesome content for you. You ready to get started? Here we go. Hi, everyone. Oh, happy Monday. I'm so happy to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about how to find your most authentic voice. So we're going to discuss the components that kind of make singing difficult in the first place and see how we can untie those knots to help create a space so that your voice can reveal itself to you. Yeah, hi everyone. So, yeah, it's rather difficult, partly because there's so much messaging that we receive from the world, from ourselves, from our own standards about how we would like our voice to be. Sometimes how we would like our voice to be is congruent. It's in harmony with our authentic voice. But sometimes how we would like our voice to be is a direct contrast to the way our most authentic voice is. So that requires a degree of acceptance, which takes some time to foster. So in our lesson today, we're going to go over 5 ways that you can explore your most authentic voice. So before we get into it, I just want to say hello. If you're a new member, I'm super happy to have you here. We do our lives every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we're hoping that you'll come and sing with us. We'd love to have you here. And yeah, so without any further ado, let's get into these 5 things. So 5 things are, number 1, define authenticity. Authenticity is one of those weird words like freedom and confidence that we don't exactly know what it means. And if we don't know what it means, how can we aim for it? And how do we know when we hit our target? Number 2, find your voice type. We're going to go over that. We're going to gloss over that today. We're going to use your voice type as just a starting place. Voice type and range are not the same thing, but we'll get into that. But it gives you a place to start from. Number 3, explore your voice through absurd sounds. This takes the edge off, the pressure off from, again, getting it right, and it taps you into a spirit of play. Number 4 is find a model or an artist that has a voice that's similar to you, again, to give you a starting place to work from. And number 5 is choose the right song. So now that we've said that, I'm going to continue on. And I encourage anyone that's on the live with me now to be as vocal as possible with questions, because this is going to depend on a dialogue. And hopefully some of your questions will help answer some questions that other people who are watching later on may have. So you have a very valuable role in today's live. So as we continue forward, I'm just going to go ahead and treat y'all like you're an artist, you're a developing artist, and you're going to put yourself out there with your most unique sound. Now let's get close to unique, authentic. What exactly is that? Let's define it. I'm going to tell you guys what I think, but I also want to encourage you to pipe in with what you think as well. Because again, what is freedom? what is confidence? How do we know that we've hit those marks when we hit them? It's very important to define that clarity of how you're going to focus yourself. So my definition of authenticity is completely and unapologetically present. There's nothing about my behavior that I'm trying to augment or curate or censor for anyone that might be watching. So I'm not going to censor myself in any way for anyone, for the benefit of anyone who's watching. And that sometimes that's very, very difficult, because as we put ourselves out there, especially if we're singing, we want to be perceived well. We want to be received well. We want to be celebrated and loved and encouraged and respected, all those wonderful things. Now, keep in mind that those types of things tend to happen when authenticity is already present. But when we don't know how to find our authenticity, we may try to become what we think other people want. And that's where we get into trouble. That's where we really build up this kind of internal resistance to, I want to be myself, but I don't know how to be myself. I'm so accustomed to being what other people want to see, what other people want to hear. Okay, so sometimes authenticity can be really, really difficult when we've had a lifetime or a few years of augmenting our behavior, or our sound in this case, towards what other people want to hear. But when we kind of restore the voice to presence, it might put us on edge, because again, it highlights that behavior, that tendency to try to shift and change the sound from moment to moment to moment. But if we're completely and unapologetically present with our voice, what happens is the voice starts to show itself to you. And that is what we're talking about. That's why it's very important to define it. My definition is completely and unapologetically present. I'm not saving the sound. I'm not protecting your sound, not your sound. I'm not protecting my sound. I'm not trying to hold myself to your standard for what is good. I'm just trying to stay connected to the moment. That's it. And what unfolds tends to feel pretty amazing. Now, if this is new for you, what you will find is if you have that tendency to protect or like sing just so, and then the moment you relax, I find, if you find your voice changes, I'm so happy for this. If you find that your voice drastically changes the moment you relax, were you authentic? No, because when you relax, you come into being present. And if it goes blah, blah, because that's exactly what happened to me, and I was mortified by what I was hearing, I had to just stay with it, be completely and unapologetically present. The more you practice this, the more your voice will show itself to you. And that is the goal. I also want to say one more thing, that when you are in your authentic sound, there is an element of ease. The sound takes very little adjustment to maintain. Keep that in mind. Very little adjustment to maintain. If you've got to turn your shape completely inside out to find something, it's like that's not authentic. We don't have to try that hard. Now, if we're exploring something that's new and we've never felt that before, then yes, we may want to exaggerate a little bit. But let's say you're already at this place in your own artistry where you're wanting to create music, or you're wanting to put yourself out there as a singer. So you want to make sure that you're standing on both of your legs, and you've got all your arms and legs available, that you don't have both arms tied behind your back and you're not standing on one leg, just to keep one consistent sound. I hope that made sense. So completely and unapologetically present. And technically, it's authentic when it doesn't require a lot of physical adjustment to maintain. So just pay attention to that, okay? So, number 2, that was definitions, but I encourage you to come up with your own definition for authenticity. It's so important. It's going to be your guiding light to what's important to you, and you're going to build your sound around that because it's a feeling that we can all feel. I think authenticity, freedom, confidence, they're all the same thing. I think they're synonyms to describe the same kind of experience. Personally, I think that even though, let's say, someone's authentic voice isn't technically beautiful by the cultural standards, there's no denying that when someone is being completely authentic, there's a confidence that's coming through when they're holding that presence. Total confidence that's coming through. They've accepted who they are. And I find that beautiful. And I find that when people can do that, they reorient what beauty even is. So I'm just going to leave that there. Number 2, you've got to know your voice type. Now, I know that I may get some flack about this because people like to argue about, no, you don't need to know your voice type. The only arena where that's important is classical and musical theater. And I would completely disagree about that. And I would completely disagree because that has not at all been my experience. Now, if your experience is different, that's fine. That's totally fine. But I will say this, that again, if you have to turn your mind and your practice completely inside out to find placement for a song, that's a surefire heads up that you're not being authentic. And a part of that is that you're not operating in your voice type. Now, did I say that means you can't sing the song? No. But it may mean that you have to put that song aside for a little bit in order to learn a little bit more about your voice. Hi, Mabel. So, what is voice type? Why is it so important? Well, if we're looking at range, I'm going to show you guys my little graphic here. If you're looking at your range, you will see that there's a line that highlights bass, baritone, tenor, alto, mezzo, soprano, and soprano. Now, all these lines represent something called the tessitura. Now, that is why it's important to know your voice type. That is where you're going to get the maximum amount of vibration, but the least amount of effort. I'll say that one more time. When your voice is in your tessitura, another way of saying your sweet spot, you're going to get the maximum amount of vibration, but the least amount of effort. That is authenticity, okay? So, for example, I can sing soprano, but when I do, it doesn't feel completely embodied. I can sing really high, but when I do, it doesn't feel as good to me as when I sing in the alto range. I know it. I don't look like an alto, but I love. My voice feels the best right when it's in the alto range. So if we're looking at the alto spot, we see C3 to G5. That's exactly where my voice is coming to rest. So it's very, very, very important to understand that tessitura, where your voice rests, or your sweet spot, does not have anything to do with range. Because I can sing on any given day when I am not recovering from laryngitis and bronchitis up to like F sharp here. Now, that's pretty cool. I think I've used it twice in a song, but for the most part, I enjoy and I get the most out of that feeling of authenticity when I'm down in that alto-y range. Okay. So, yes, someone asked, can you post this chart somewhere or direct us to a place to find it? Well, this chart was used in other video about how to find the right song to fit your voice. And it's very, very consistent. But I would say you don't even need it. You don't need it, okay? I like to show it just as a, oh, okay. But pay attention. Pay attention to the way certain songs feel as you're singing them. If you feel that you have to try really hard, or even if you have to ask yourself, how do I place this song? Then I think that's a slight heads up that you might be outside of your voice type. You're outside of your tessitura. The tessitura is most amount of vibration, least amount of effort. Try not to get that confused with vocal registers, okay? Just say like, where is there the maximum amount of vibration, least amount of effort? Because we all have areas of overlap that maybe require our attention, okay? So, did I say everything I wanted to say about voice type? Yes, mention that range and voice type, not the same thing, but really stressed that if you've got to think about it, if you've got to really go, oh, I've got to think about what I'm doing, then you're leaving your voice type at that point. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good, solid vocal development when you can do that seamlessly. But I'm talking about finding your authenticity, your home in your voice. Because again, if you're an artist and you're creating music, or if you're like a lead singer in maybe a cover band, it's very important to choose those songs that are within your voice type. Okay, at least as a starting point. I would just reference that as a starting point. I want you to get that authentic experience, that freedom, that confidence, and then build from there. Okay. So number 3 is, I would say, the big takeaway from today's lesson. It is the most important aspect of any sort of authentic work. And that is